it's like a struggle to complete a painting or to make it a thing and to really listen and respond. And then the ones that I feel like for me that are, I can read them as being more forced and I'm trying to impose my will or like my decisions on the work as opposed to actively listening. For me, those end up being like these quote unquote failed paintings. Why is this not working? Why is this artwork terrible? Like, what does it mean to like then embrace this failure? And then like, you know, at that point, I think when I was working a lot of work on paper or like unstretched canvas, you know, it's not this like fixed entity yet. You can still like tear it, like physically tear it up, reorient it. And then there's something really liberating about like tearing up something. And then I think once I started tearing up work, realizing then those pieces could then become like little moments and inform like a new work. And so a lot of times now when I start a painting, I'll start like with a large sheet of like unstretched canvas on the ground, use like black paint and a bunch of rollers, and then just kind of like make a mess, go to town, press the surface on top of one another and pull back in like very basic, like little kid maneuvers, you know, elementary maneuvers. But for me, there's something about that, like that first process that's more spontaneous and more of just like this like quick happening where I feel like I'm not in control, that something else is playing out. And so then all subsequent decisions that happen in a painting are really kind of contingent upon that first event, that first happening. I was doing this really meticulous layer of like black ink, and it was like with a little dropper, and so it was such a minute passage, you know. And of course, while I'm about to clean up, is when I kicked over the ink bottle by accident. There's no going back from there, and I just like moved the canvas then around slightly, and so then it pooled and created this, you know, very much this line work then developed by then moving the canvas with this like pooled ink. And so in this painting now, in like the upper right hand corner is like this passage that's unlike anything that I've probably done or anything else in the painting, but it's like that yes and mentality where you're like, okay, now we need to pivot and let's like take the risk and let's move to like Wassaic, New York, you know, just like let's do these things that can just happen, and projects and relationships and things can have their fixed time, or they can have like a time, and does nothing needs to be like 100% permanent. My dad, who passed away in 2010, because he had a junk car, and when he passed away, we like basically just opened the trunk of his car and all the doors and like put all things in his car directly into my car. So like I was almost like inherited the junk car, like, you know, and so a lot of those objects were from his car were just like still in my car. So when then I got news that the car was gonna, you know, it had 3 months to go or a year or whatever, it was like, okay, well, I had to do something. I wanted to respond, and like it had to be honored in a way. And I didn't even think of an art or an art making approach at first. I was just like, something's got to happen here that also like honors maybe my dad, honors like a legacy, but is me. And it was my husband who was like, you should just paint your car, kind of offhandedly. And I was like, oh my God, brilliant. I feel like we always talk about the Wassaic Project as a large like art project and a large living organism that's, you know, a physical space, but also this like entity and this thing that has its own like breath and life and like support, you know, built in. And I think for me, that's like artist run spaces, and that mindset is that blends that live work balance, or really, you know, not even blends. It's just like that balance is just like out the window because it's all one and the same. For me, that's what like it's a really potent space, and spaces that I kind of want to like picture myself, you know, in the future and navigating more. Yeah. It's really key for me to think about an investigation and exploration versus that end result and that pretty package of a, you know, a painting or a product. For me, trying to be as open and flexible and like honest as possible shapes, you know, a lifestyle and shapes like a body of work, both in and out of my studio, where I can like maybe be more vulnerable and more generous with my time, because it's like yes and. Hi, I'm Will Hutnick. I'm a visual artist and curator, and the director of artistic programming at the Wassaic Project. and I live in Wassaic, New York.